HasanAbi, more like HasanAbillionaire. Second Thought, more like Second Tank.
Thoughts on this guy being a tanky? I hope he fucking drives a tank to your house, okay?
ContraPoints, more like pro-status quo points. Who is a dirty lib, godforsaken tanky, or the worst of them all, a dirty shill? These eternal callouts thrown around in the gladiatorial arena, which is online left-wing propaganda, or as us kids call it, left-wing YouTube content, have left so many confused on who the hell they should even listen to. But before we begin answering that question, what even is a left YouTube, breadtube, the swolletariat, or whatever you want to call it? Depending on who you ask, they will give you different definitions. But as an unwilling member of this so-called community, and to avoid infighting before this video even starts, let me give you a definition which we'll use as a baseline for this entire conversation. They're simply a loose cluster of channels advocating progressive ideas based on culture, race, and most importantly, class, characterized by infighting and a constant disagreement on what is to be done. Noah Samson had made a fantastic guide to the basics of leftists on YouTube. Go ahead and check out his work, especially if you're still confused about what any of these words coming out of my mouth even mean. Good. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get to what we're actually here for. Me telling you which channels are good and which you should avoid like the plague because of my very specific niche political disagreements with them. No, what are you telling me? Hundreds of those have already been made? So now I can't just score easy YouTube infighting algorithm points by calling other channels stupid and wrong. Well, shit, I really want to do a video on this eclectic group of annoying and petty, but also funny, passionate, creative, and smart creators who are in it for a better world for themselves, and most commonly, for both. So instead of looking at them individually, let's look at this LeftTube pipeline in general by exploring how it works, if it works, is it cringe, is it not, and most importantly, what can be done to maybe, I don't know, improve it. A funnel, or a pipeline as it's more commonly known in this context, is not much more than marketing terminology. When you want to sell a product or a service to people who don't know anything about your business, you need to put them through a few steps before they're ready to buy. All these steps combined are simply called a funnel. At first, you need to inform them about the existence of your product, then tell them how it can solve some of their problems, give them some data on how it helped others in the past, some stats about how it works, and finally, a deal you're willing to propose. Political funnels work in a very similar manner, albeit a bit more complicated, because you see, these different steps in a business funnel are managed by a tight group of professionals, while political ones are managed by a wide range of disconnected individuals and organizations from all over the world. Instead of selling a product, they're pitching an idea. Instead of leading you to a sale, they're leading you to, in this case of the left, an elevated class-conscious perception of the world, while hopefully entertaining you in the process. Now, while this funnel is much bigger than a bunch of people on YouTube or Twitch, it would be foolish to ignore a little thing called the internet, hence why we'll concentrate on just that, specifically the big red button website, YouTube. The current lack of organization and structure among these free-floating radicals simply leads all of them to naturally kind of fall into different parts of the funnel. Some contribute to people going down the pipeline, while others, not so much. And this is exactly what I would like to explore with you today, building a grander schematic while using examples of what this funnel looks like now, how different creators impact it, but also more importantly, how with a simple shift we could be far more productive while also doing what we love, making a living off of internet shitposting. First, I had to define the goal of this left-wing funnel. For right-wing funnels, it would be making people blame all their ills on everything except the capitalist system, be that minority groups, gay frogs, vaccines, or lizards. An example of such a right-wing funnel would be, hooking them with messed up transphobic propaganda. Then you spoon-feed them a bit of xenophobia, and you top that off with some heavier conspiracies once they're deep enough in the rabbit hole, and you've done it. Perfect drones. For the left, the end point of any online funnel, when you bring it back to the basics, would be getting people to actually apply their beliefs in the real world. Do shit, organize, unionize, protest, and other things I cannot say if I want to keep this video up on YouTube. So, okay, I think this is a wide enough, fair goal, which doesn't get too entangled with whatever Marxism, Leninism, anarcho-feminist, Judo-Bolshevik, democratic, POC, cracker, liberal, communist school of thought you all belong to. The funnel should build socialists and anarchists who act on their ideas, because without that, this whole thing is just a circle jerk. So, this is what I came up with. Not the prettiest thing, but let me walk you through it. Each layer has multiple types of creators. These types are pretty simplistic, and most of these people fit multiple categories and even funnels. But I had to stop somewhere in the name of your and my own ever-deteriorating attention span. Many of the people on this list will likely not identify with the position I'm giving them, either because of humility by saying shit like, well, we just make entertainment, or that they're small-headed dum-dums that you shouldn't listen to while managing to deliver brilliant insight time and time again. And the most important category of people on this list who will not like being identified with their label are, I call them tumors, my man. And funny enough, this is the only category that permeates all the layers of the funnel. Well, you know what else permeates my existence as a proud second worlder? No access to most of the good shows and movies I want to consume with my every fiber, only because some corporate executive decided they should be available in my region 3 months after release. This is where Atlas VPN comes into play. Just one click and the likes of Netflix or Apple TV start thinking I'm some Californian stuck in traffic or a Brit enjoying a succulent Chinese meal, and voila, I get to watch whatever I want. But the power of Atlas VPN doesn't stop there. It can help you truly keep your Google searches in private. It stops malicious links and annoying ads, and tells you when someone is trying to steal your data. A one-package-fits-all, which is now available as the most affordable online protection for just $1.70 per month, plus 6 months extra with 30 days money-back guarantee. It costs less than a can of beer, and it would not only get you great and practical protection, but it will also help our channel grow and my mortgage decline. Now go ahead and enjoy the Black Friday price cut as Atlas VPN Premium at the $1.70 price point per month, plus 6 months extra with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your privacy and get many benefits of Atlas VPN for the ridiculously low price. You can take this deal by clicking the link in the description below. Be quick, as this is a time-limited offer. You see, everyone's journey down the funnel, while generally within certain parameters, can go very differently. For some it takes decades, while others get a matching Mao and Lenin tattoo 10 minutes after they date their first communist. Hell, some never even make it down the funnel and remain liberals at best, or whatever ideology your uncle has at worst. Why this happens, both through the online and other political or sales funnels, is incalculably wide and diverse. We all come from different worlds, different realities, ideologies, call them whatever you want. And it's obvious that one method cannot work for everyone, no matter how much you've been taught to hate or love your boss in the first place. So, then, in the funnel, who exactly are the so-called tumors? I didn't name them that out of spite, but because they simply do operate like tumors. Swelling, growing, swelling, and growing. No other reason to exist. The tumors refuse to participate in said funnel, and instead they become channels, writers, content creators, and so on, whose entire purpose is mostly growing their own image, brand, and audience. Well, there's nothing wrong in trying to grow your shit. The only reason you end up in this category is if you grow it at the expense off the funnel. You see, the problem with pushing people down the funnel for them is that their content stops being engaging for people who've actually moved further down, who managed to, for the lack of a better word, outgrow them. People moving down the funnel means less views, listens, or streams. Less views, listens, or streams means less money, popularity, and relevancy. So sometimes subconsciously, and other times with very real strategy and intent in mind, tumors shit talk and smear other creators from the funnels below them. They often camouflage that as being principled, fighting against problematic schools of thought, or my favorite, purity checking. Instead, most of the time, it's simple drama and content baiting. These are mostly debate bro channels and streamers, often liberal elements LARPing class consciousness in the beginning, but as time goes by, show no real signs of any even slightly radical political thought. The both-siders, the lib apologists, the ones who spend 5 hours shit-talking past socialist experiments and then tell you to vote because Biden is the best we've got. The constant conflict-prone behavior and totally embarrassing lack of self-awareness. But also, on the other spectrum, there are the elitist theory academics and campists who completely miss that little point of philosophers changing the world, not just being the most right. And while disagreements are bound to happen wherever there are two dudes and a cup half full, it's only when friendly fire becomes pretty much your most successful method of growing your online presence that you've become the tumor. It doesn't matter if they see themselves as such or if you like them or hate their guts. Hell, I'm even going to go so far as not to ascribe them as necessarily bad or intentionally malignant. Probably half of them are doing what in their ideological sense seems right. But when it comes to what we're talking about here, the online left-wing political funnel, they are unfortunately not one of those harmless tumors. They keep people from advancing ideologically. They provide fuel for even greater than usual infighting. They dilute the movement and, most importantly, dilute ideological growth into a simple childish game of I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right. Criticism should, of course, be shared amongst people on the same team, but in one-to-one conversations, not through loudspeakers. It's just impractical unless all you want to do is grow your YouTube presence. We don't all have to agree, and realistically can only guess what school of thought might end up being the one who's right in the end. That's if we don't all die by then. And it's exactly in accepting this modesty of uncertainty that we should treat others in the funnel with all due respect. Who in the fuck says we're the ones who got it all figured out? All you can do is push your ideas and let others push theirs in this wide, beautiful, ideological family of ours. Don't operate like a dirty capitalist market. History will show what will work or won't. It's on us to push people to action and not just petty, stupid infighting. And the best part is that it's a total myth that by pushing people down the funnel, you will lose an audience. Look at plenty of creators ranging from Second Thought, PhilosophyTube, or Hasan who dedicate their time to informing, entertaining, and teaching at a relative entry level and yet manage to keep some of the biggest audiences on here without living off of cannibalizing other left-adjacent channels they might not fully agree with. But okay, we've spent enough time on these tumors. Disagreements will exist, but the funnel takes precedence. Blah, 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 blah. We should all get along. Yugopnik should run for the Miss World pageant. Yeah, you all get it. Originally, I was going to actually show you the creators I would consider the tumor category, but I decided against it out of naivety or hope that they might eventually step out of this role. They might not even be realizing they're playing. We're still on the same side, I think. Anyways, now let's actually take a peek into the meat of this chunky-ass funnel of ours. We all start from somewhere. Our initial trigger to changing our mind can be anything from personal experience to watching a dude we follow get dunked on in a YouTube video. There's no right, no wrong approach, and that's exactly why this section of the funnel is so important, and not to forget, kind of fun. Let's start from the reply guys. Their lore takes us back to the anti-SJW era, a dark and sweaty time which gave birth to many variants of the Ben Shapiro virus. This virus would seemingly attach itself to unsuspecting videos of progressive feminists or 18-year-old college kids saying something only to be completely obliterated by the superior minds of facts and logic. Well, until people started actually questioning those facts and logics, giving birth to left-wing ownage corn, or what we call the reply guys. This can be done in many formats, through long-form essays like those of Hbomberguy,
just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
or Big Joel, or direct analytical dunks like from the Kavernacle, edgy punches like with BadEmpanada streams, or just classic humorous annihilation like with Noah Samson or Hakim's famous response videos. These videos feel like cold water being splashed in your face. Just instead of waking up from your fever, you're being shown that, hey, that the really smart dude you've been basing your whole personality around, yeah, they're kind of bloody stupid. Moving to the second type, probably what I spend most time watching personally, media analysis. It's the people you should blame for the saying that everything is political, which it is, no matter how much we try to forget. Media analysts take our favorite films, books, series, music, or art in general, and show us the underlying ideology of the whole thing. Why we relate so much or why we hated it. What message was it trying to put across, why some of it is propaganda, or why it's, just really bad. Or good. Media analysts get a lot of shit from people further down the funnel for not really doing anything, but how can you say that about some of the greatest propaganda works of our time, like Shrek, a Marxist analysis by Jonas Ceika, and I kid you not, AzureScapegoat. Yes. There are two analyses of Shrek, or the greatest takedown of how Enemy at the Gate lies to you by Kay and Skittles, shows like Renegade Cut, or the recent gem overanalyzing the Barbie movies with queer Marxist theory by Alexander Avila. All the creators on this list are pretty great, and not all of them only focus on media. And while you might call most of this either over-intellectualizing or, contrastingly, not much more than consumerist obsession over art, all I can tell you is, well, news is, well, the news. Arguably a section of the media landscape we lack the most in. The libs are out here performing group fellatio on the Bidens and Macrons of the world, only outpaced by the giant orange man statues erected hard, deep, and long by the conservative echo chamber. It's kind of hard to compete with billion-dollar industries, but some are still ready to take this on, pushing through the sludge, getting us informed, and somehow staying away from the big old Murdoch box. Some of my favorite are the excellent Democracy Now!, PLN or Positive Leftist News run by Mexi. Contrastingly, Good Morning Bad News, mostly over on TikTok, or the ever-entertaining Some More News. I even run a fledgling openly biased news channel with my boys from the Deprogram podcast called First Thought, where we post 3 times a week and are soon launching our first long-form content. Anyways, while the news section of the funnel won't always directly push someone down, it plays a critical role in fighting against right-wing advancement into the mainstream and hopefully introduces most viewers to critically viewing establishment, billionaire-owned media mouthpieces.
Their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, the introduction funnel is there to tickle the curiosity by killing your idols, connecting to you through media and art, or by giving you a new perspective on current events. Lighting the fire is half the work. The big boy, the fat of the funnel, the fat of our lives, entertainment. Get radicalized on the toilet seat, at work, during break, at school, while driving, while drinking, before sleep, or right when you wake up. The opiate of the masses is no longer religion, or even opiates themselves. It's 24/7 non-stop warfare for your screen time. How then, in the nine hells, do you expect any self-respecting movement to not utilize that? Entertaining people and helping them forget about their worries, if only for a moment, are relatively noble goals by themselves. But add an extra ingredient to that concoction, and you get the goddamn powder puff girls of ideology. Political entertainers stem from the early days of late-night talk shows combining comedy, news, and hot takes, which themselves stem from thousands of years of deeply politicized written, spoken, and performed entertainment. In our era, this field has transformed into a whole mega industry of podcasters, streamers, comedians, and just general people looking to give you a good time. Well, maybe, hopefully, teaching you something along the way. To start off with streamers, they give arguably the biggest bang for your buck of any video entertaining category I can think of. Some of these people spend between 5 and 10 hours a day, every day, pretty much living with their chat. They react to others' content, world events, shoot the shit, react to what chat sends them, or analyze this or that subject. Because so much time is invested by viewers who consume this sort of content, there is an inexplicable bond built between the host and the audience.
You hear that THC carts are killing people. You hear that mattresses are killing people?
This bond leads to far deeper trust than with most other formats of entertainment or content in general. And this trust, which translates into quite real and literal power, can be used to direct, often unexperienced people towards a more factual and kinder way of looking at the world. In an era plagued by rampant antisocial tendencies, people, especially the young'uns, are looking for role models outside of their homes, but now also schools and friend groups. That's where streamers who treat their role responsibly come into play. From the likes of Hasan, who's basically a one-man Gen Z leftist CNN at this point, or the many different stripes of leftists from Mike from PA, The Serfs, Central Committee, No Justice MTG, Rob Russ at TRRS, by often unwillingly playing the role of either role model or main source of the correct takes, streamers, when not embracing the tumor path, will continue to grow into some of the most influential people of our era, like it or not. Next on, we have the Jokers. They either tell us we live in a society or make us laugh. They make up the meat of the meat, the largest chunk of the entertainment funnel. Some of them you call comedians, others video essayists and commentators. I cut them into two subtypes. Edgelord internet humor, the likes of Wow Mao, who apparently, yes, is an actual leftist, Juche Co-op Gang, a very tall Bart, AIM on animation, which still haunts me in my dreams to this day.
But then pretty much that things just become like land creatures.
And the OG who was here before it was even a thing, Batko, and many, many other edgelords. And the second subtype, the long-form jokers who make pretty much everything from essays to short documentaries, like one of my personal favorites, the two insane boyfriends over at Boy Boy, the brilliant Mia Mulder, Spooky Scary Socialist with his whole 2 videos, Shaun the Talking Skull, münecat, who by the way almost drinks as much as me, which is very comforting to say the least. Anyways, a recent rising star, GDF, PhilosophyTube, Balkan Odyssey, and many, many others. By phrasing their content as more generally educational, historical, or as cultural analysis or whatever not so scary term, they managed to pique the interest of people just browsing the web looking for a good laugh, or to satisfy their curiosity on this topic or another. They're the shit YouTube will actually recommend. The shit that changes your worldview without you even noticing it. King content, baby. King content. Now, next. Podcasters. I mean, do I have to say anything here? It's podcasts. Radio killed the TV star. If you're gonna spend your time listening to something while you're driving, cooking, working out, pushing out those dark thoughts of cosmic insignificance as you fantasize of the warm embrace of non-existence wrapping you in its arms after the excruciating experience of being given life without having ever asked for it, or cleaning, redecorating, or gaming, podcasts are a constant. I have personally learned a lot from incredible shows like Chapo Trap House for the humor and interesting takes on theory, True Anon to grow my hatred of pedocapitalism, Revolutionary Left Radio and Guerrilla History Pod for my praxis in history, or Blowback for their incredible storytelling. Oh, also a little podcast called The Deprogram that yours truly runs with Hakim and Second Thought, link below. But yeah, contrary to the news sphere, the left has managed to find its place in this medium, with some of the most grassroots financially backed pods out there being the very ones which are working towards the good old cause. The entertainer step of the funnel, in general, is pretty exclusive to the internet. Grassroots organization is too busy feeding and housing people to also give them a laugh. It's also the perfect stepping stone one can take because, let's be honest, it's mostly not that heavy. None of us can bear to sit through books and documentaries and heavy-handed videos all the time, especially when we're not really that involved with a thing in the first place, which people at this stage of the funnel really aren't. And that's exactly what our darling entertainers managed to do. Bridge that gap between a slight interest and real passion by totally normalizing a school of thought that should have been the standard in the first place. The right might have war movies, billionaire funding, and countless grifters, but they will always be, well, boring. You've opened up your mind to it. All those years of indoctrination have finally been flushed out along with your daily intake of cigarettes and vodka. You've had an ideological enema and are now finally ready to learn. So, just like in IRL, there's nothing you can't do without the right hype man. This section of the funnel, as I've just said, is there to actually show you why the current status quo really isn't doing it for you. Something happened in your life, or you spent enough time around leftist ideas, and it triggered your need to learn more. But it's not like you'll actually sit through difficult to understand theory and ideas, and you're still skeptical of the concept that there might be actual alternatives to the current system. It's not that bad, you know? And that's exactly where these hype man channels come into play. They, while on the surface having been cut into different categories, really only have one role: touch on particular people's particular pain points and explain why, very truthfully, they're directly or indirectly systematic and therefore fixable. How capitalism hurts you is somewhat of my channel's specialty, focusing on how you're screwed over financially, emotionally, in spirit and soul, how your boss twists modesty on you as some sort of virtue while siphoning almost all the money you generate for himself, how your inability to find true community or love is stifled by the ever-growing commodification of all relationships, including the family, how dreams which would have been considered modest in the middle of the last century are now borderline impossible for you to achieve, and so on and so on and so on. Channels like my dear friend JT over at Second Thought, who introduces his viewers to a more material understanding of how things really work in capitalism through the brilliantly written and produced videos. One Dime's crazy insight into the economy, ideology, and the future. Unlearning of economics. Niche but incredibly important topics like the ones covered by the likes of Catherine or Andrewism. History deep dives by Freda, History Civilis, or the brilliantly passionate Lady Izdihar. How we're impacting our very own planet, explained by channels like Our Changing Climate, as well as fantastic anti-fascist cultural and social commentators like FD Signifier, Best D Marx, Luna Oy, Cock Philosophy, Non-Compete, or John the Duncan, and many, 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 many others. The Hypemen are the breaking point, the closest to an actual PR team of the online left pipeline. They're supposed to be direct, honest, clear, and if possible, just a little bit entertaining. This is where the marketing of ideas kind of stops. For the only people moving to the next step are those looking for solutions of the problems defined and explained in this section of the funnel. People who finally understand this shit makes no sense and ask the scariest question. What is to be done?
This whole class is gonna feel my wrath. Now, D nice.
Do you mean Denise?
Son of a...
The teachers represent the free online universities of modern ideological education. Just like professors in any college I can think of, most of them often disagree among themselves in most key issues. But with the students coming from all walks of life and incredibly eclectic material conditions, it's this very diversity of teachers the online left has that can be its strength. The teachers outline the many schools of thought of our relatively young tradition, from the Marxists to the Kropotkins and the Luxemburgs and Lenins. They go in depth about how the current system functions, how it informs history, what had predated it, what alternatives to it exist, how they may be brought about, what the relationship is between man and labor, man and the material world, man and purpose. By teaching, they are fulfilling the very ideals set out to them by the oldest minds of these philosophies, changing the world. Their job is to give the tools needed to generations of self-conscious individuals, to build not only progressive minds who believe, but hands which act. Together with the obviously far more important knowledge one gains from actual IRL organizing, these teachers, just like a mama bird, help chew through the heavy, often boring, long, and insanely complicated history and philosophy and carefully drop it into all of our hungry, angry mouths. Spit that pure ideology into my mouth, mommy. Am I right? Oh, Jesus, why did I keep this in the script? Where was I? Yeah, the teachers. Their job never really ends, even if they get someone to move on from the funnel, because as they say, the more you know nothing. So, who are they? Well, some of my favorite and most impactful channels of this finishing line of ours are people like my dear brother Hakim, who somehow takes the Alexandrian library he has in his head and gives us what we need to know. Theory channels like Marxism Today, The Marxist Project, Prol Cult, Epoch Philosophy, Zoe Baker for the Anarchist, or The Finnish Bolshevik for the MLs, Jonas Ceika from Kak Philosophy for those in between, and probably plenty others. Hell, I'll probably get into so much trouble for even putting them all on one list, but that's Papa Yugopnik's burden to bear. I might like some of my kids more than the others, but I'll never, ever tell them. The teachers are here to help learn and wave as the new generations of terminally online humanoids slowly creep out to touch the grass. No matter how much shit they get, or we get, I've always loved this little nook of the internet. At the end of the day, cut to its most basic truth, it's a bunch of people who wanted to find a way to escape the daily grind of the very system they know and hate, while at the same time doing their part to push for an alternative to that very same system. They saved themselves from the proletarian grind, but didn't forget their roots. It's not just content for the sake of content, at least not most of the time. And if they trick the market into putting bread on their table while they shit talk it, then, and I might be subjective here, they might have just found one of the last cheat codes to this massively unfair game we've all been thrust into without our consent. If we put the infighting to the minimum, concentrate on the goal, and do our small but significant parts, both these creators and the incredible communities they're building could have a real impact. Or maybe this is just all a big useless circle jerk. But then again, you did just finish the video. Thank you for watching. Now, be a good tavarish and smash that subscribe button if you liked what you saw. Or, even better, if you are able to, check out my Patreon, where for the price of less than a can of beer a month, you can help this channel run. Now, I'd like to take a moment to thank all my wonderful patrons without whom none of this would be possible. Especially